Hi, this is John Pitron with Stickman Sound. We're at NAB Show 2018. I'm with Paul at Sound Devices. Paul here is going to go over the MixPre-10 with us. It's got a lot of cool features. So Paul, why don't you start us off?
Okay, it's the MixPre-10T. The T actually stands for time code. So this is a 12-track recorder with 10 inputs, 4 outputs, and you don't have a very accurate timecode reader and generator. It records to SD card, but can also copy from the SD card to a USB thumb drive. So at the end of a day's shoot, you have duplicate, a backup immediately available. It uses the same really high quality cashmere mic pre's that are on our MixPre 3 and 6, which we released last year. Very robustly built product, die-cast aluminum chassis. Very high quality mic preamps. So we've got four outputs, 2 of which are balanced and 2 of which are unbalanced. So it gives some flexibility on set for providing feeds to various places. Each of those outputs can be routed from any source, pre or post fade. The time code functionality is fully comprehensive, very accurate. If you power down in the middle of it, it's going to retain the time code for up to 2 hours. So that you don't have to re-jam, but it's got all the functions you'd expect from a Sound Devices timecode mixer recorder. Okay.
One of the cool features you're telling me about that's new with this device and probably future products is the Sound Device Remix feature. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is a totally unique feature on a field recorder like this, and that is the ability to play back any existing take and remix it. So imagine a scenario where you made a recording and one of the talent was too low or too loud in the mix, or maybe a lapel mic was rustling and it ruined the mix, or perhaps you just forgot to arm your mix tracks. Well, this gives you the ability to select previous takes, put it into play, and then adjust the faders and make a new mix. It's not just the fader levels, but also the pans, and you can mute things, and you can actually re-record that remix. So that, you know, at the end of the day, if you need to correct a mix, you can. That remixed file will have the same file name as the original file, but it will be prefixed with the letter R underscore, so that you know it's a remixed version of that. Now that's a totally unique feature, and can, you know, how often do you always get the perfect mix? You know, there's many situations when that just doesn't happen, so this gets you out of trouble. So there's that feature. We've also got this new feature called cue markers, comprehensive cue marker support. This allows you to drop a cue mark at a point of interest during recording. Maybe a dog started barking in the middle of the recording, you just want to put a cue marker so you can easily locate to that. You can lay these cue markers during record or playback, so that during playback now you can jump and skip to these points of interest very quickly just by hitting the fast forward or rewind key. If you didn't get your cue mark in quite the right place, you can actually move it backwards and forwards in 1/10 of a second steps. You can name the cue markers, you can delete them. And the nice thing about these cue markers is they're embedded in the WAV file itself, so that computer apps can read those cue markers. For instance, Adobe Audition and Reaper, you'll see those cue markers appear on their timeline.
Wow, that's really cool, because it's like I love the remix feature. So if I'm like ever doing like sit down interviews, or like I have time in between like a reality take and someone comes in a little too hot or something like that and kind of catches me off guard, because I like to think I do perfect mixes all the time, but sometimes other people bring stuff up that's a little bit quicker than I can react to. So being able to go back and kind of like dial stuff back a little bit, because I can be a little picky where I'm like, oh, this guy maybe like a couple like dB a little bit lower, because not only is it the fader, it's also the mic pre itself that you can change. So you can kind of like adjust with that, and it's also going to help with the post department, because I like them to be able to use my mix and not have to go to the ISOs, and kind of use the ISOs as a backup only. And then with the cue markers as well, if I'm doing anything with like field recordings and like effects recordings, I can mark cues to kind of make like, it's almost like circling takes where I'm like, ooh, I like that one, I like this one. So if I go like Reaper or something like that, it shows up in the timeline as well.
Exactly. You can just, that means you can just leave the machine running in one long file without having to keep stopping the file and then starting record again, which some people do that to sort of like allow easy access to the beginning of a point of interest, you know. But now on this, you just leave the record running the whole time, drop cue marks all the way through it for easy access. There is another nice new feature. We've expanded the linking options. So previously you could link in pairs, either MS or stereo, standard stereo, and we also introduced like grouping, linking for 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. But now you can link almost in any combination you like, 1 through 3, 1 through 4, 1 through 5, all that to 1 through 8. That means you can use one knob to act almost like a master fader for any number of inputs. So that's really cool.
So Paul, I saw in y'all's press release recently that you guys are part of the MBO Alliance with Sennheiser. So why don't you tell me about that?
Sure. So we're demonstrating some new firmware at this show. It's beta firmware. The actual official release for this firmware will be out in the summer. But it allows us to take an Ambio mic, connect it to a MixPre-6 or a MixPre-10T. It'll be a free firmware update, by the way, and allows us to bring in that signal and record that Ambio signal directly on the MixPre in either A format, which is the raw signal coming from the microphone, or we can convert it in real time to B format in either Ambix or Fuma standards. Okay, but the really nice thing is that you can monitor the B format in left-right stereo or binaural, and we are the only device out there that can actually do the binaural decoding to headphones. So that will work with any pair of headphones, and that will give the ability to monitor the full 360 audio space using the binaural. So that's a really powerful tool. As I said, it'll be available this summer, and yeah, watch this space.
That's really cool. And with the MBO microphones you guys are going to have, and with the MixPre-10, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out with sound devices. Is it safe to say maybe game changing?
I don't like to use that. I don't like to use that phrase, but you can use it.
Yeah, I will use it. A lot of really cool stuff coming out with sound devices, and honestly, I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Paul?
Thanks. Great to talk to you. Great to talk.